Hello and welcome to today's Prismatic Congress. It is Sunday, the 8th of December at 2200 UTC, and you're listening to the Prismatic Congress. The Prismatic Congress is a broadcast by the Prismatic Imperium based in QBO, an active player group that makes up part of the Ashling Deval community and specializes in roleplay. I am hosting instead of our usual host, Jeff Ryan, today. This is Lord Warden Misla, because Jeff seems to be lost in space currently. So I will be hosting today's show. We will start with some general news, as we have already mentioned in our last episode. The Golconda Interstellar Initiative is over, but now the time is there that the Federation rank bonus is active. So until the 16th of December, any federal rank you grind is doubled. So if you still need that grind or you are interested in getting that Corvette, now is a good time to do so. If you are looking for a route to grind that rank more efficiently, I have posted a suggestion in our news channel on the Discord server, so you can check that out too if you are interested in this. Other than that, the beta for the January update has concluded last week, and the developers expressed a big thank you to everyone who participated in the beta, shared feedback, and reported issues via the issue tracker, and they are using all the information they got now to work on that update. And they announced that we should be able to hear more about the release of that January update in the near future. So if we keep an eye on the social channels, I assume we'll get information there soon. It sounds like it won't be too long after the holiday season. So much for the general news. I'll hand over to myself directly for the branch of Vigor news. For the branch of Vigor this week, there is a few little news. Well, one is quite big actually. It is that our last retreat has successfully completed today, and this concludes all of our Great Night Bare Feet's projects in terms of retreats. Now we are back to our original Prismatic Imperium bubble of systems that we have and that we also intend to keep. So yeah, several months of work there pay off, and I'm really happy to see that project complete now. For the Adamantine Union, things continue to look very stable, at least so far, and we have tackled a new system after we have recently liberated the Arapani system. We are now looking into liberating the Unalini system and free the slaves there. Last but not least, for the branch of Vigor, there has been our roleplay arc going on that started, well, months back by now with our Vice Warden, Honest Benjamin. And since in the last episode, Jeff Ryan was not up to date on everything that has happened there over the time, I have written a summary of that. And if you are interested in that summary, because you are also interested in catching up on that roleplay, you can read it up. I will pin it in our Discord channel RP discussion. And with that, I will hand over to our dear Lord Headmaster Tekeron for the branch of sight.
I am back, but I don't feel better. Well, whatever, duty calls. My prime message for this evening is: don't buy the Federal Corvette. You're helping the Federation increase their capital. Don't do it. It's already was enough that they won against us in the generationship competition. I mean, what by Arcana? They probably won because they had more pilots and lucrative actions. Whatever. I'm still trying to get one of them to come to the Imperial side. Not the dark side, but the Imperial side. I mean, yeah. You see, I guess it's because the Federation is based in the Sol system and that generation ship departed a long time ago, so they probably want to see the Earth again. But hey, we have a cleaner and a better planet, and it's also more beautiful. But yeah, other news, my vice headmaster is gone. I have no idea what happened. Communication just broke off. I haven't heard from him for over a week. I guess I'll need to send some scouts in his general direction. Without him, I can't continue my current projects. So the branch of sites has come to a halt for the moment. But yeah, I'm ill, but not that ill, so I can continue some other projects. However, this was not very exciting, but hopefully there will be some other news from Mind.
Mind always has exciting news, especially when it's hosted by your Lord Herald, which is me, Kevin Massey. So, I have a few topics to discuss today, all of them very exciting. First of all, I am working on new NPC avatars in 3D. So you might have seen I just finished the Catherine Edmonds avatar, and I'm really pleased with it. It was a high quality 3D portrait that took me about 5 hours to render. So you know it's quality if it's 5 hours and not 10 minutes, which most of my characters only take 10 minutes. So, looking at the list of characters I'm going to be creating is a 3D rendition of the Baltic Tiger, which should be fun. Mostly just a project for myself because I really want to play around with a 3D tiger wearing armor. Moving on. Laudaris Otesius is a project I've been excited about for 3D. It came with a lot of technical challenges that I have been preparing for all year, quite literally. Creating a character that's over 100 years old is going to be something new for me and something kind of exciting. Uh, Prior to that, he was just uh, a stock image uh, character a person that I painted over. So it was a really simple art, and I really like the character that we've created out of him. But the 3D one should be more of a technical challenge. Next, I will be making myself, which is something that I've been wanting to do for quite a few years now. I just couldn't seem to get myself to fund it for myself. But I have finally tracked myself down and forced myself to commission me to go ahead and make myself an actual nice 3D portrait.
What's your language?
Lastly, I'll be doing one for Rita Mordio Massey, who you probably have no idea who that is, besides a couple references. Rita Mordio is the Lord Harold's second daughter, and she's going to become a more prominent NPC in the future, as she's an aspiring author and will be writing a lot of ridiculous books that will be relevant to our story. So that's it for the NPC avatars. Next, I wanted to talk about the a little bit about the civilized warfare system, which is what Ramirez is officially calling our uh, battle system, as I think is what I called it in the past. So it's now called civilized warfare. I only have two things I'm going to talk about since I've kind of talked a lot about this over the past month. Um, it's decided that units are now broken up into classes. There are 6 classes: that's soldier, scout, sniper, tanks, ships, and help me out, guys. I'm missing something. There is a sixth one.
Um,
Oh no, it escapes me. There's actually secretly a seventh one I found out. It is the Icarus. So anyway, we have that to look forward to. And the last topic I want to cover on that was I have finished creating the Prismatic Imperium commanding officers. So you can now go check them out. All of their statistics have been rebalanced to something that we think will fit with the system. Ramirez has passed off the design document to Missler, and so now it's up to him how that is finally implemented. And so, uh, I don't know exactly when that'll be finished, but we are on schedule for it to be ready by our next season. So that's it for that. Last thing I want to cover is the diamond market update. There's 3 points in this. First, I have created some new commissions, and I will be adding a lot more this week. So keep your eyes peeled for commissions. This is obviously our commission system is a first come first serve. But just be aware that you are locking yourself within the time period of that commission, and you can only have one active at a time. So it could be worthwhile to wait out and see if something good comes along. Keep in mind, not all of them will always look profitable, but you will always earn reputation. So this is an implementation of the Diamonds for Reputation exchange, which is something that we came up with for TTMJ when he made a million diamonds getting lucky during our April Fool's event. And we decided not to punish him. But he had too many diamonds, so we let him exchange that at like a 1 to 500 rate or 500 to 1 rate. However that worked. We're also got a winter sale going on, so everything is on sale just about around 80%. So if you have the diamonds for it, definitely buy up on things that are on sale because you can turn around and sell that once they return to their regular value or higher. So that will be a nice big diamond bonus for you. And then investments. I realize a lot of people were a little upset that we finally caught up on the investment update. That is working as intended. The only thing that I wish to improve is that we try to keep that up to date more frequently. And so Commander Kurt Austin is going to be working on that a lot more, trying to keep your actions, investments, and the random factor from Anthony Burge, keeping all of those, making those impact the investments. And so that covers it for the branch of mind.
Thank you. All right. This is the part where usually Jeff does the follow up, but I will try to do some follow up. Now, it would be weird if I interview myself. So if you have anything you want to ask for the branch of Vigor, then go ahead now.
I do have questions for the branch of Vigor.
Then go ahead.
I want to know what's going on with the story and what have we seen so far and what's coming.
Oh boy, that's that's in a big part answered by that summary I refer to. And as far as stuff is concerned that is not in the summary yet, I don't really want to spoil anything and just
Oh no,
say
don't spoil. But
keep.
I'm wondering, is there going to be an opportunity for new people to join in on that arc?
Absolutely. Right now you can see that Daniel Joral, who is also a guest in our show today here, is about to be integrated into that story. And if other people want to join, I'm totally up for it. You do have to show me some kind of initiative, or at least make it clear that you do want to participate in it. But I'm certainly up for it. The more the merrier, basically.
That's exciting. So I believe where we're at right now is we've got or what are you calling them? What's that group? The sheriffs?
Exactly.
So we've now got the sheriffs putting together a little team to fight against the syndicate, which is pretty exciting, and definitely a hook for players to get involved.
So to take this little part of the big arc to our discussion here is that basically the story has shifted from the first, what do you want to call it, big chapter arc,
Yeah.
where the whole branch of Vigor kind of collapsed and it ended in the ones being imprisoned, and now we're in that second part where we're slowly going towards some kind of repair, and it has branched out to multiple points of leads to repair this. It's not
Yeah, so
about
I'd
one
say
single arc and person anymore that is responsible for everything, but it's about to be tackled from multiple angles.
Right. It's kind of like your first chapter was one that was just a big political conflict that was setting the stage, and now it's moving into something a little more personal where people can get involved and have an impact.
Exactly.
All right. Well, that answers my question.
So, I have a question for Techie.
Hmm.
I'm curious. I don't want to like get any special plans that are not announcements yet out of you, but you hinted at a new expedition in the early next year. Any news on that already?
Well, you see, originally I was thinking about the first expedition with our own fleet carrier, but that has been denied.
Right.
And since I
Right.
was focusing on roleplay stories, I haven't found any replacement for that yet. In addition, my vice headmaster vanished, so as you can see, I'm a bit clueless for that at the moment.
We all are for a little bit. So I hope that settles itself. Well,
I'm going to drag him back to my office if he doesn't respond in the next week. I'll send every single ship after him, even the
maybe he'll
TPM, because they can find everything.
appear in some kind of Christmas present.
I
Oh
told
god,
you
no.
exploration is dangerous. You send people out into the void,
It's the
and what do
space
you
madness.
expect? It's dangerous out there.
He is an experienced explorer. He knows what's going on out there.
That's
I
true.
bet he came face to face with the Guardians and is going to come back with some pathetic revelation.
Come on, Kevin. If
Did,
you'd be out there, you'd try to interview a black hole and die.
No,
is
that was too far for me.
what is your source for that information? Is it the Vector?
Probably he believes that all of our galaxy is just some kind of simulation, right?
Oh yeah, can you tell us a little bit about your desire to shut down the vector and how you
Well,
intend to carry that out?
I was just scrolling through that commission. Suddenly, I see one from myself I haven't even posted, stating that someone who acts as me wants to shut down the vector, demanding a lot of diamonds for that. Was that you?
Was that me? Not actually. That was you. I did help facilitate that though,
Oh
and
god,
I have
Kevin.
witnesses here on my side.
That's going to ruin my reputation, you know that.
I'm not worried about your reputation. You are the Lord Headmaster. It doesn't get much better than that.
Well, fortunately I have the means to alter that a little bit, so it does sound serious again.
Well, you are
You
more than
and me
welcome
as
to
well.
do so. Just don't do it right now because I have it open.
Oh, come on, hurry up. I don't want to see this anymore. I don't want everyone to see this anymore. That's a huge embarrassment.
Well, let me move on to the mind news. Well, first of all, you mentioned the new 3D avatars, including the
Hmm.
one for Catherine that is done now. And I mean, I've thanked you in multiple places already, but let me thank you here again. I think it's went really well. I'm really happy,
I appreciate
and
that.
I'm also
It was
looking
fun to
forward
do.
to all the others you want to do. You mentioned a few. Is it ultimately your goal to replace all the avatars with 3D renders?
Yes, unless they were created in game, then it's not necessary. But
Right.
any characters that I painted, I am trying to replace. The avatars have gone through several stages of artwork, honestly, over the years.
Mhm.
And it really just started out with me making very quick concepts that take me just about 5 to 15 minutes to make. Um, but creating them in 3D, is that definitely requires a lot of planning, and I have the tools to do it now where it doesn't actually take a lot of time. It's just something that wasn't feasible to do 2 years ago, and that really just comes down to me having all the expansions and the morphings all set up for me. because I am using the DAZ software to do this. So going in and just sculpting all these faces in ZBrush is something I am certainly capable of doing, but not the quickest way of doing it. Now I've already spent a good year and a half creating a bunch of morphs for myself in anticipation of what I wanted to do, because there is also a business opportunities for myself doing this. Um, but I do believe I now have the systems in place to create what will be my biggest technical challenge, which is Elaterus Otesius, the High Overseer.
Right.
So I can't say when I will pull that one off, but I believe the next one I'll actually work on is myself, because I'm confident I have what I need to pull that one off.
I think your own
As
avatar is one of the oldest in the Prismatic Imperium right now?
it is truly the oldest, yes. I created that avatar before the Prismatic Imperium when I joined the Ashling Duval Facebook group, which happened at the very beginning of Power Play launching. And so my
Mhm.
goal was to immediately make a name of myself there, making artwork, and that way I could start my own business, which I did. So now I'm ready to revisit it, and it's going to be very, very similar because I am attached to my own avatar. I really love it, so don't expect something entirely new, but I will make. I'll at least redesign. I'll reimagine the pose of me at a podium, um, but with 3D. So that should look
Sounds
really fancy.
sounds fancy at least, yeah. You also mentioned one of your upcoming characters is Rita Mordio, so,
Yeah. So
correct me if
Rita
I'm
Mordio is an established character that is that is from, oh goodness, what is the game? It's escaping me.
from a
All
different game.
it is my
Okay.
so the Lord Herald has 3 daughters, and they are all inspired by the ships that I named.
Right. I
And
remember
Rita
you
Mordio is one of
I
my
think you
ships.
made one 3D model earlier, right? So this would be the second.
Yes, I made the youngest daughter, which is Euphemia.
Right.
Euphemia Lily Massey is based off of Princess Euphemia, um, V Britannia from the anime Code Geass. Um, and so, yeah, I'm just working my way up now to Rita Mordio. And then lastly, I will make the oldest daughter, who is, I should know my own daughter's names. Estelise Silos Massey, inspired from the same game as Rita Mordio.
I think that's also the name of your main ship. So if you took a moment to remember that, yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, all of my ships were named. Yeah, Princess Euphemia is my cutter. My anaconda that I've had for the longest was um, Estelle, or Lady Estelise for long. And then I had my Type 9 trading ship as Rita Mordio.
Is it a good reference if you are named after a Type 9? Or, well, the other way
It
around, but
might be an
Consi-
insult.
so maybe we don't think so much about the bulky shape of a ship, but consider instead just how much propaganda materials that thing moves.
okay.
That ship gets things done, and you're going to discover when you get to meet Rita Mordio that she gets things done politically, even though she is only. I'd have to check on her age, but she's the middle child, so I'd say she's probably around 17 or 18 years old, but will already be in the spotlight because of my position and my expectations, for my children that are following my footsteps, whether they want to or not. Rita actually wants to follow my footsteps, unlike her youngest sister, who honestly doesn't want any part of this.
Such a brutal family.
It is. Yeah. This is not by any means my sci-fi fantasy for myself. Let me just make that very clear. I don't picture myself in the future as being a snobby, egotistical news media, uh, whatever you want to call me. I am in Elite Dangerous, basically Caesar from the Hunger Games. You know, the guy with the ponytail, wearing the fancy shiny clothes,
Mhm.
and conducts the interviews of all the children that are about to get murdered. That's me
Okay.
in this fictional universe.
What made you this way?
Very worried right now. Very worried. Yeah.
There's definitely a lot of interesting, embarrassing timestamps for you in this video that I should highlight later on.
Of course, yeah. And you know what? That's okay because I'm the Lord Herald.
Right.
I thrive off that.
All media is good media.
Yes,
Oh
yes.
no.
There's no such thing as bad publicity.
Well, that's the only thing we have in Cubia.
Lastly, you
Techie
mentioned
could learn a lot from me.
What can I possibly learn from you? How to spread
Just be
fake news.
accepting of all attention. But yeah, that answers your question about the new
absolutely.
NPC avatars.
The next thing I mentioned that I also want to comment on is the new civilized warfare system. So as you've said already, I got the draft and I read through it, and it's mostly on me now to make the next move. And while I can't promise any ETA when the system is completed, I'm also pretty hyped about it, and I will tackle it in multiple phases. So the first thing you will see going live is a rework of the current command token system as it is on the market. So that will change to be a bit different now, so that you can, like you would for items, for example, buy an amount of soldier tokens, and all the commanders will be separated. So there's some rework there. That will be the first part, and after that we will tackle the new game map system and everything related to that. So that's at least these parts. And yeah, I can't promise an ETA, but I'm hyped to see it, and it should be ready for the next season. Absolutely. Do we intend to have some kind?
We'll just stretch out this season as long as we have to.
That's what we have successfully done since February.
Yeah. I would like to take this moment, though, to clarify. I will be pushing this season's story pretty hard here. Coming soon. We are on chapter 4, and there are 12 chapters. And the chapters generally go pretty quick. We've just been on chapter 4 for absolutely forever.
Yeah.
And so that will be progressing. But if you want to get in on the main story, which I promise is pretty exciting, it definitely has its reward opportunities, both narratively, entertainment wise, and literal financial gain out of our diamond and reputation currencies. There's a lot to offer, but you do have to make a commitment by catching up on the Simulation Center channel in roleplay. So I highly advise you to catch up on that story using the pinned post. You just go to pinned post and scroll down to the bottom and start from there. Everything you need from the season is right in there. There is obviously some story that you will miss that's spread out in other channels, but this is the only channel that's essential to this story. And so yeah, we'll be continuing that, and you'll want to be caught up. If you've caught up and you make it known to me that you want to join the main the session, I will give you the role so that you can participate, because that channel is generally locked out. So it's by invitation only. So there's that.
Also, the sessions are a good way to make diamonds, especially if you don't have that many yet. That's what I learned.
Did you get rich real quick?
Not necessarily rich, but it was a great boost, because I joined my first session not long after I joined, So that was really helpful to get started with gear for my character.
Yeah, you can go down into events and check out the summaries for each chapter, and also play the audio logs, which are present there.
I have to admit, these missions were my primary source of income.
Yeah, well, we are paying a total of 200,000 diamonds to every player that participates in this season.
Over the course of all chapters, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, every chapter you miss, you'll be losing a twelfth of that. So it is divided by 12, but it totals to 200,000 diamonds, which, by the way, I believe is the price for the new mongoose drone. I'll verify that for you right now. Yep. Okay, so the mongoose drone extra large is 150,000 diamonds. So essentially, if you've been participating in a majority of these sessions, you'll have enough diamonds to buy that without dipping into your pockets.
When do you think the next session will be? Already any plans?
Um, it,
December 25th.
I'm gonna try to avoid any holidays, but I am hoping to do it this month. Yes, somewhere in this
Oh,
month.
Oh, exciting.
And then the future ones will be starting in January.
another bookmark for blackmailing later on. Nice.
Yeah. It just really depends. I was trying to kick this off in November and try to finish most of the season this year, but I've had a lot of family emergencies coming up. So a lot of things are up in the air. I've been traveling a tremendous amount unexpectedly. So it's really hard to say what will happen, but we're gonna take it slower. In the past, I've been really good about starting a new season um, at the end of December and into January, um, but we're just gonna be a little bit out of sync this time, I think, and that should be fine.
So to summarize, if anyone wants to join, all they have to do is read up on the simulation center and contact you to be able to get in to the next session.
That is correct. This season is called Embers of Reminiscence, and we are currently on chapter 4, which is called Deep Space.
Are we in the discussion part yet?
Yeah, let's formally move to the prismatic discussion part.
Prismatic discussion. Prismatic discussion.
Well,
Prismatic discussion.
I'll never get used to that.
Well, at least Jeff is here in that.
Yes.
So, Daniel, any follow up to what we've talked about so far from your side?
Yeah.
First of all, I
Okay.
apologize for jumping in too early.
Kevin, please remove your presence from my commission. I need to edit it.
Oh, sorry. I was doing exactly what you were intending to do, actually.
Of course, yeah,
So,
whatever.
but we'll
Vanish.
handle this after the
Vanish
discussion.
now. I need to correct your mistakes.
Well, honestly, it looks like things are moving along, which is nice to hear. Quite a few interesting updates. It's a lot to take in.
Well, better too much than too little, I guess.
I agree, though. I'm wondering if we could find perhaps a better way to summarize the story that already happened than the pinned posts, perhaps.
That's actually a good point you bring up there. Should we talk about what good ways are to handle story summaries? And what is your thoughts on how I did it?
I really like what you did, and I think it would work great for everything, except I don't have the desire to do it for myself. But
Right.
if I can get Kurt to do that, that would be great. Because he actually kind of he's done it in the past and has enjoyed that. As for the current season, that'd be great for the past seasons. And then we can bundle that all up and put it on the codex and have like a season, um, each of our seasons labeled out in there under a
Mhm.
category, so you can actually walk through the story in a summary, with links to where it actually happened. I think that's a wonderful idea. For this
So
current season, that would not work. You'll definitely want to catch up on the story so you can grab the foreshadowing and the references. This season does not rely on any past seasons, so it is an excellent place to start out in our story. Although it has a lot of rewards in it for people who are familiar with what happened in the past. But in you can get some summaries in events where we actually post out, um, when we're scheduling each session, and you can read in there basically a really simple summary of what happened in the previous session, kind of like an episodic thing. But if you actually want to join in on this story, there is a reason why the channel is locked. It's a lot deeper, than our previous stories, and it requires some commitment because everything is connected together and there are some serious consequences for player decisions. And so if you're not really paying close attention to what you're doing, you can have drastic impact that is bad on some of our NPCs.
right. So
I'm not sure if that's a warning or an encouragement.
It's a bit of both. I'm hoping to excite the part of you that wants to see your actions have an impact. Um, and I've done a lot to encourage people to just jump in, casually, and we have that available to you. For the locked channel, it's not so much of a casual thing. I mean, the time requirements is very casual, but you actually need to be focused and not playing around. It's more serious matter. That's why it is labeled, um, when you try to join that channel, that you should be 18 or older. That's really just saying, look, this is a serious channel, and if you can't handle some of the concepts that, um, Embers of Reminiscence throws at you, a lot of mental health stuff, especially since you are going into a realistic simulation that is oftentimes killing you repeatedly. Um, and you'll be dealing with the consequences, including hallucinations from that in character. So before you commit to all of that nonsense, I do ask that you verse yourself on what has happened already. That especially helps it since we're kind of writing a book here. It is entertaining to go back and read. It doesn't have a lot of fluff in it, and that is another reason why I locked the channel down. There's nothing meaningless happening in this channel, so you can actually go through and read everything and be able to follow it without going through some sidetrack, stories that are jumping around through other channels. That was my focus on this, and I will be doing that for next season as well if I need to, um, just to make it easier for people who want to just follow the story. They can actually do that, and that was answering concerns about it being difficult to catch up on the past, just because we were all over the place.
to close the loop to the summary, I guess it's also very difficult to do this in hindsight. Um, but if we can keep up doing this in more real time, I guess that would be very great. And if we can put it on the codex, I
Mhm.
will certainly, for now at least, be updating that pin I made. Right now it's still on the state of about 2 weeks ago, and I don't think I'll always update it to the very latest state because at least the latest bits I like if you read them. But I'll definitely make sure that stays updated for now.
And eventually we can move that to the codex.
Exactly. All right. Let's talk about Elite. Um, We have mentioned, or Techie has mentioned in the side section earlier, the new outpost the Golconda people got. I know it's Federation talk again, but something I noticed this week when I saw a screenshot of it, I haven't visited this outpost yet myself. I saw it has actual habitation rings with where that rotate and have this artificial gravity. Is this actually? Do you know anything about it? Is this the first time we have an outpost with habitation rings?
I haven't seen pictures of it. I've never heard of that before.
I don't have a link handy right now, but when I saw these, I was pretty surprised, and I was wondering why are they taking the federal outpost with artificial gravity if they could have just taken the planet? But
It
well,
seems they're getting a little bit of both worlds out of that. But I mean, we definitely know the technology is feasible. We've already seen mega ships, and mega ships generally had um, these habitation rings on them.
right,
It's a
to be,
requirement of survival.
they come from a generation ship too, so it's quite possible if that the lore is that they just took it from the generation ship and
It is. The
integrated
generation
it there.
ship would have had a habitation ring since these people were not in stasis. Some of the generations ships had everybody in stasis. Um, but this one's not one of those. It truly was a generation ship, meaning that people were carrying out their regular lives and reproducing and dying of old age for generations. And so that generation ship, while I have not seen what it looked like, I don't know if it was represented in game. I assume yes. Should have had some habitation rings on it because it is impossible to survive even in elite lore without gravity. In elite lore, people are a lot more stabilized to the space atmosphere than we are today. That is one reason why you'll see everybody's height is actually pretty averaged, possibly because of a technical limitation from the game engine, just having everybody's the same height so they can sit in the chair and use the same animations. But in lore, that's actually supported that everybody that is a spacer is living a pretty healthy lifestyle and is all pretty consistent in size, even if that seems to vary very widely from what we'd expect in reality. Um, but the bodies are a lot more capable of space survival than we are today, and so that is the reason why people are able to live on Coriolis stations, where gravity is artificial and does not perfectly simulate real gravity. Um, but it is still essential. Nobody lives on an outpost. They will visit the outpost and work there, but it is not a permanent survival structure.
At this point, I should note that I forgot to mention it earlier. If you want to get the decal, you can get it for free just by docking at that outpost. So that is also up until the 16th of December.
Ooh, I need to do that.
Free
I like
decals.
decals.
Yeah. Plus, you can look at these. Well, it's not the habitation ring like an orbit station would have, but it is a rotating ring with rooms in it, and it has little biodomes on it, if I remember the picture correctly.
Oh, cool.
Any other topics we would like to talk about? Unfortunately, I don't have any bigger list like Jeff usually has for discussion topics prepared.
I could blindside you with a topic.
Which is?
What do you think it's going to be like walking around inside Thargoid structures on foot?
I have
Ooh.
no idea.
Slimy.
I'm pretty excited about the idea.
My biggest question is still, since I am a VR gamer in Elite, how will all the space lag stuff, at least assuming the leak is true, tie into VR? Do I have to switch VR and desktop to not get sick using this FPS style? Or that's my biggest question personally.
I actually had
I
that
am.
discussion 2 days ago with a friend who also plays, and we came to the conclusion that most likely it'll have to incorporate a system like the Oculus Rift S is currently working on that, where you stand up and switch to like hand controllers that you use in VR for shooting and stuff, and then you use them for movement. So it would be a little bit of a transition, probably, but you could continue using VR. I mean, I see no reason not. There are plenty of games where you can walk around in VR.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, if they add it, it will have VR support.
It will definitely work. The question is if it will be. It will definitely be a different experience. So much is certain. If it will be kind of FPS gameplay, because just normal Elite is the perfect VR example because he's just sitting in your chair in your ship.
I will
And
imagine it will
that
let you use
makes
mode.
for, well, I won't say no, but at least little problems with motion sickness, because your brain doesn't have this paradox of thinking you are moving because you are moving with some kind of controller or something. Whereas in fact you are not. You're sitting in a chair. In this case, it matches perfectly because you're sitting in your chair both in real and in the virtual world. So I expect the FPS gameplay, if that happens, to play a lot differently. So they'll definitely have to pay attention to how they handle this.
I don't know if it's even confirmed that there'll be first-person combat or
Fair
anything.
enough.
Um,
That's
I
what
have
it
no idea
sounded like, but it's only leak in the end. I don't know.
Yeah, what I do know is that Frontier hasn't made a first-person shooter before.
I'm honestly kind of hoping it won't be a shooter at all. I mean, I see no real reason to add weapons and to turn the game into a shooter, because it tends to change the play style completely. And I'd honestly be happier if that never happened, if we could just walk around and that's it. But that's personal.
Yeah, I don't mind if they throw in shooter. I want the walk around. I you know the shooting thing can be an optional thing. Um, I'm just really excited about being able to see things I want to see. Really, what it is
Right.
for me, I don't care what they open it up to. My dream would be you can walk around the inside of your ship. I don't think that would happen, just because of the technical issues with gravity, depending on where your ship is. But I do like the idea of being able to walk around stations, which is a consistent and easily controlled gravity environment for the game engine. Um, so, being able to see some interior space station lobbies, essentially. I want to see world building, and I've always complained that the whole reason why I got into doing art for Elite Dangerous in the first place, and mind you, this was before there were NPCs and the hollow advertisement expansion. This was a long time ago. Um, did we just lose? Oh, never mind. Um, when I got into doing art because there was a disconnect of communicating the lore in Elite. There wasn't a human element, which that is still a persistent problem, that I believe could be fixed by a lot of suggestions I could make. But understanding the scale of things in Elite Dangerous is difficult, and it all comes down to one boiling point. There's nothing to relate to. But I'm not just talking about being able to see people walking around or something. I would like to see kind of like what Planet Coaster does so well, which is another Frontier game. It creates a universe, essentially. That game in particular is about building theme parks. But within that game, when you actually dig in, without any backstory or lore, you understand a few concepts, like the coffee manufacturer. You understand who the coffee corporations are, and who makes hamburgers and who makes hot dogs. They have their jingles, they have their mascots, they have their logos, and they have their storefronts. And things like that in Elite Dangerous would really bring the universe to life. Being able to walk around and see that people actually live in this. It's more than just flying spaceships in the void of space and blowing up other ships. So that is what I'm most excited about. I know this was always on the roadmap. It's always been in Braben's mind. He imagined when you bought the cargo canisters that say personal weapons, he actually knew what those can contain. Personal weapons is a category. What is actually contained in there is a vary of brands of weapons, which I tried to build on with my artwork through the diamond market. And those are real. And I've said this before. These are real brands from the game, like Callahan Firearms makes pistol kinetic ammunition pistols. Some of them we are familiar with because they make the ship weapons, like Manticore. A lot of us have probably heard of Manticore. Even if it's not communicated directly in the game, if you go look at objects in the game with the cinematic camera, you'll see Manticore is printed on a lot of weapon related items, so specifically like the multi cannons. So the lore is in the game in some places. It's just not widely communicated, and I think that's one of the things that will come with a first person perspective. Is these things that have already been designed but aren't shown
Mhm.
because you can't see them from the cockpit of your ship.
Right, it's a lot of details that are not communicated in well, in actual texts.
Yeah, and I think when the game was still in beta, Frontier, the development team, all sat down and created a list of that started with 300 in-game corporations. And like, how many can you list off that are actually in the game, like just
And
from memory?
and even there's a lot of backstory, like, I forgot the name. The Cobra. Well, basically, a lot of the ships that are now Falcon the Lazy ships were originally manufactured by a different company, and they just bought them. That's not at all clear to somebody who's playing Elite Dangerous and has no background knowledge.
Right. Now, one thing that is fun to do is you can go in and you can Google the category manufacturers from the Elite Dangerous wiki, and you'll see that they've got a list that's pretty long. Um, once you find all the corporations, and the ones they have listed there have some pretty in-depth lore. Um, but what's
Yeah,
interesting is you have to know there are actually a lot more that just are not presented in the game because it isn't relative to flying spaceships.
there is even
Everything in the
one.
game is designed by someone.
There is even one corporation with your surname in it.
Yeah, the Massey Kane Mining Corporation.
Yep.
Yeah. But there's things like who makes the spacesuits and how do the spacesuits actually work? How are you magnetically fastened to your chair and oxygen gets supplied to you through your suit through ports? What happens if you lose a limb? Who manufactured the gel that solidifies your spacesuit when it's compromised, such as when you lose a limb, which I have a feeling is a cut feature from the game because there seems to be a lot of
T-
stuff
to be
related to losing limbs.
to state that fun fact, I don't remember if I've said it before. I apologize if I have said it before on the show, but when I started out with the game, I just assumed our ships would have artificial gravity, just like any other
Yeah,
sci-fi game has. So that was a fun moment when it clicked to me that wait, we're in zero G.
yeah. I think that's just a communication error that other games have an easy way of providing you because of first person. I think a really good
Right.
example did if anyone played Alien Isolation,
Yep.
which is now a VR experience. Um, that game spends hours setting up the mood, and I think that's very important. Some people said the game started out really slow, um, but what's important about that's that start is that we really got to see atmosphere, and Frontier are really good at creating atmosphere. They just have boxed themselves in with their game to not really create a lot of opportunities to show you atmosphere, if that makes sense. I think a time when they got to be the most creative and they took advantage of the opportunity was when Thargoids were first introduced with their little cinematic of them hyperdicting your ships. They really took advantage of that opportunity because they failed to do it at other earlier stages of the game, such as
Mhm.
when you first start playing the game. It would be great if, when the first time you load up the game ever and you create a new ship, your player actually walks to the cockpit and then you take over. There's a lot of opportunities of communication that the game just isn't able to demonstrate because of the way we play the game. Most people don't realize you don't have seatbelts when you sit in those chairs, but you should be flying off whenever you turn, and that's because there is actually an understanding of how it works. It's just not communicated. You are magnetically fastened to your chair. You cannot get up without pushing a button to do so.
But how,
Uh,
I'm sorry. How do we even know that there is no gravity? Like, what is that based off? I've never heard of this before, so I'm
that's
curious.
communicated by David Braben, and like I said, there's not a lot of support for it shown in game because you don't see particle
I
effects very much in your
I fully
cockpit.
realized it when I read the Elite books.
Yeah, it
That
is
that
in
was what
the
made it
it is
clear
in
to
the
me. It is communicated, but not really clearly in the game.
yeah. It was very important to Braben that there would be no artificial gravity that was hand waved. So that is the reason why space stations are spinning. They are creating artificial gravity. And that is why I think the best place to demonstrate what this is like is when you fly inside of the starport of a large space station, and you'll realize that the closer you are to the center, the less gravity there is. Um, and if you lived on the outside of a station or in a habitation ring, you'll get closer to 1G. A Coriolis does not reach 1G anywhere on it. But it does spin faster than the Orbis with the habitation rings. The Orbis spins slower, but it's also twice the size, and its outermost section where the majority of people live is spinning at a rate that would, if you calculate it, it is 1G inside the habitation ring.
I
The
feel that.
Coriolis stations that have the big battering arms
Mhm.
that some people joke about, a lot of people don't even know it exists. But if you find a Coriolis that has these giant, um, like 5 kilometer or 3 kilometer arms sticking out on two of its axes, um, those things come up to something like 2.5G or something at the ends of them. I believe it's intended to be a refinery. It's moving materials around based on density.
I was about to
So,
ask, what is that thing for? Do we know it?
yeah, I'm pretty sure it's related to that because those stations happen to be exclusively refinery economy stations. So I'm pretty sure it has something to do with that. To the player, it's just a battling ram that's designed to kill players who don't know they exist. uh, but yes, it is official that there is no artificial gravity. So you float around in your ship if you undock from your chair. That's why there is magnetic shoes and why they're extremely important. And your suit has thrusters on them. You can see the thruster ports. Um, and so, yeah, that is a
It's gonna
thing.
be a pretty unique concept once they make it. I mean, if you can just move around in 0G in your ship, it would definitely be something that I don't think I've seen done before as a regular concept rather than a extreme emergency
It
situation.
would be amazing. I also think it's one of the reasons why this experience has been delayed from
Yeah,
the roadmap,
probably.
because it's kind of a double-edged sword. Um, if they had artificial gravity, it would be as easy as making a Dead Space game. Um, but because there isn't, the gravity is real. Um, there's too many variables for creating a player model that can move around with animations that are, um, or what's the word? Uh, situational, multi-level animations. That it's just kind of a nightmare because you can park on Achenar 3 and have like what is it 7G or something? I don't know. There's just a lot of variables. What happens if your ship is moving when you get out? What happens if somebody jumps in your instance and starts pushing your ship around while you're floating in 0G? Do you just go smacking into walls hard enough that you clip through them?
Right.
Will you even share your ship model, or will you be instanced in an alternate universe for the interior of your ship just to protect yourself from game limitations, which would include collision checks? I'm sorry, I'm getting very technical here, but collision checks are the reason why we have speed limit caps on our ships. If our ships were allowed to go as fast as they ought to, because it is the void of space, then when you collided with another player or even a planet, and you're moving so fast, the game can't do the collision checks fast enough per frame, and you'll actually clip right through things. And you'll notice you can recreate this in Space Engineers when you get out of your ship and you're walking around and you fall through your ship and you're just out in space and your ship leaves without you. That is a real problem that is plaguing Elite Dangerous. You just don't know it because they have limitations there that are safety rails to keep that from happening.
To wrap this up, though, there definitely is a lot of depth in the game universe, but it's could certainly be clearer. And for me personally, I learned a lot about that from both. Well, things I learned via the Prismatic Imperium, but also the books when I read those. In any case, it's about time to close the show. If you have a final thought, go for it now.
I'm just
No
excited to be here.
commissions about myself without my commission, without my approval. Okay,
That
Garen.
sounds actually plausible. Anyway,
It is plausible, but I will make it up to you. It's free.
thank you for joining me in the show today instead of your usual host, Jeff. And yeah, we will see whether we can find him again or if he will be under the Christmas tree. We will see. Thanks for the show today and see you next time.
Come back, Jeff. Come back.